Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Yang, and I am going to be talking to you today about program theory. Now, I've told y'all, I hate the word program theory because it really isn't what it says it is, but we're just going to go with it. So, remember, the purpose of this experience is program evaluation, and program evaluation is a systematic way for us to collect data about organizations to understand how well they are functioning, how well they are meeting the needs of their clients, how well they are meeting their specified goals, to help the agency make decisions about how they can support themselves moving forward, decisions that they can make to improve their programming or to better meet the needs of their clients. So it's kind of like a health check for an agency or program. Now, I have an image here for you. This is different than how your book presents it, but this is the way that the CDC conceptualizes program evaluation, is this sort of circular process, looking at engaging stakeholders, understanding the program, creating a really focused evaluation design, gathering evidence, creating conclusions, and sharing what we have learned. This is a really good way to think about it, but the reason I wanted you to have this source available to you is because this link, this particular formulation is publicly available. So if you ever find yourself needing to do a program evaluation long after this course is over, it's a nice resource that's available to you beyond your textbook. So remember, there are several different types of evaluations, but there's 4 that are kind of central to what we do and how it is that we engage with agencies. So the needs assessment is the most common, followed in short order by the process evaluations, sort of 1 and 4 here. But evaluability and implementation evaluations are also part of what we do. So I encourage you to pause the video here and read over these. Make sure that you understand the differences in these types. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those, but I'm gonna move on pretty quickly. So pause if you need to. But today we're gonna talk about program theory. And program theory isn't theory in the way that we are accustomed to thinking about theory. We're used to thinking about theory like Erik Erikson or Piaget, or Sue and Sue and the racial cultural identity development model, or any of those other sort of theories that we've been primed to understand. But when we talk about program evaluation, program theory is more of a process that we use to understand why our program does what it does. Now, for some folks, this might be outright in the mission statement. For other agencies, it might be more implicit. Thinking about a substance use treatment agency, most of those agencies are going to have a written goal that we want to help our clients achieve a life free from substances. But what results do they expect to see? Do they expect complete sobriety and abstinence? Do they expect progress towards recovery? That might not be as explicit. And so really what the program theory is all of the written expectations, all of the non-written expectations, all of the values, the beliefs, sort of the stuff that lives in the heads of the designers, all of the things that make our program what it is, okay? This should feel about as clear as mud because until you actually start trying to write up a program theory for an agency, it is quite fuzzy. But essentially, what we're talking about here is that program theory is all explicit and implicit statements, values, and assumptions that serve to guide what our agency is, how it does what it does, and the results that it hopes to achieve. There are a couple of key terms. Now, these all fall under program theory, but these are sort of different avenues, different lines, if you will, inside program theory. So the first is the impact theory, and this is how does your agency understand the change process? Okay, so keeping in line with this substance use treatment program, they probably believe, as most do, that if you have a client who becomes completely clean and moves towards sobriety, they stop using all substances, then they can achieve recovery from addiction. That is their assumption. It is probably not explicit in their documents. It's probably implicit in the programs that they offer and how they engage with clients, the criteria they have that would exclude a client from services, right? So like if you fail X number of drug screens, you are removed from the program. Because they have a belief, they have assumptions that you can't change, you can't meet your goal of recovery from addiction if you are continuing to use substances. And we believe that 3 strikes you're out is the way to go. So oftentimes you can find this in a combination of documents and interviews. We're going to talk about all of that here in just a second. But impact theory is how do we, what are the assumptions we have about the change process? The process theory is our resources, kind of that first row of a logic model. What are all of the things that we need to do our job? How do we organize it? You know, are we responsible to a board? Are we responsible to financial stakeholders? What role do clients have in the process? I've seen several boards that have clients that sit on their board to inform processes. So the impact theory portion of a program theory tells us our change process and our results. The process theory tells us how our organization functions. And the program impact theory is the causal theory. What causes the change? Okay, so this goes a little bit with the impact theory, but essentially what we're looking for here is cause and effect. Okay, does abstinence create recovery? Many substance abuse agencies believe that it does. The research is not quite that clear, but for many substance abuse agencies, that link is very clear. Many parenting agencies believe that education will improve parenting, right? So if you attend a parenting class, you will become a better parent. Because education is that mechanism of change. So this is really an extension of the impact theory that gets into the mechanics. Okay, the impact theory itself is more about the assumptions, the values, and the beliefs. All of these are part of program theory. So where do you get this information? You get this information a lot of places. So sometimes you're lucky and you can go back to the original documents, the grant application, the articles of incorporation, kind of any of those documents that set the stage for, we have an organization and it is up and running. This is how it will work. So sometimes you can go back to those founding documents, that grant application, the program mission statement, and you can comb through sort of that agency literature to find this information. You can also gather implicit assumptions by interviewing key stakeholders. Okay, so the folks who founded the organization, board members who've been around a particularly long time. Maybe there's that one clinician in the agency that's been there forever and ever and ever, and they could speak to some of this information. But in agencies that are up and running, you do want to go back and look at all of these things to understand how this agency was created and what it was designed to do. You can also get information about a program theory from the actual program evaluation that you do, which is going to include document review. So going back and looking at those founding documents, but also adding in, have there been changes to things like the mission statement, to our purpose? Has it evolved over time? Sometimes the evaluator will create documents. So they will review mission statements, goals, objectives. They will do interviews. They will meet with clients. They'll collect data, and then they will create a document that outlines the program theory. So sometimes it's not there. You have to use your really good social work skills to observe and infer, particularly those explicit assumptions, and create explicit assumptions. So some of this information will be there for you sort of when you arrive as the evaluator, but some of it won't exist until you create it as the evaluator. So program theory is not going to be something that is critically important to the work that we do. So if this still feels a little fuzzy and you're not quite sure, please take heart. You will not fail the course if this is fuzzy for you. But it is something that helps us understand why our agencies do what they do. It's kind of like when you do a good biopsychosocial assessment on a client, and then you begin to understand, like, oh, well, the reason that this adolescent is hoarding food is because they grew up in a home as a young child where they were food insecure. So it's kind of like that same process where we peel back the layers of the onion, but for an agency instead of a person. So hopefully that was helpful. If not, I am more than happy to answer questions if folks have them. You all are doing a great job, and I hope that you keep up all of the wonderful hard work. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.